How does the felt sense change our ability to perform? I am Kathleen Wiley, a Jungian psychoanalyst in North Carolina, and I am here with Deborah Henson-Conant, a performer, mentor, coach, extraordinary harpist who just got back from performing with the Salzburg Philharmonic, I might add. And we're here today to talk about and explore, not with answers, because we always don't have, we come with no answers, but questions. How is it that understanding changes our ability to perform on stage, but also to live our life, to perform in the sense that we are who we are?
Mm.
And Deborah, you started talking about this, so do you want to chime in here about
Yeah,
what's
yeah, I'm
stirring?
yeah. The reason I'm really fascinated with this is because I'm running a 5-day challenge, harp improv challenge, and we have almost 1,000 harpists from all over the world in this challenge. And each day, I've kind of broken down improvisation into 5 very short lessons, and each day they then share what their breakthroughs, and sometimes share videos. And when I was building this challenge, I was thinking like, wow, how can I break it down in such a way that anyone could understand it quickly? And I
Mm-hmm.
came up with this way of having a sentence instead of approaching it in musical terms, approach it in sort of everyday terms of a sentence that that people could use. What's blowing my mind is the comments. Is that we're just starting day 5, so within the
Mm-hmm.
last 4 days, the comments about what the breakthroughs that people are having, and the videos that I'm seeing of people, and people saying, like, I thought this wasn't possible and now I'm doing it. And part of me is just like, yay, I thought that would work. That's great. And the other part of me is like, hey, I want something like that in my life. I want someone to break something down like that in my life. And then another part of me is like, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
This concept that an understanding of something. I mean, someone could come in and say, do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and that would be like, oh, blah, blah. But by breaking it down into something that's so simple, you can do it really without thinking. So simple you can do it without calculating.
Right.
And people who, they didn't get a better harp in the last 4 days. They didn't get better hands. They didn't, practice 72 hours, but their understanding changed. And that changed everything in terms of their ability to engage with something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were talking about, what is that? How can I find it in other parts of my life, especially I'm always when I see my teaching being effective, I'm always looking at people's comments to think like, okay, now how can I apply this to my own life? What is this opening up for me? What are the discoveries? The way people are saying this opens up a new possibility for me. So when you and I were talking, you said something about the felt sense of something
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
versus the calculation of it.
Right. Yeah. Um, my thing is all about embodiment. And people think, well, what do you mean embodiment? We're in our bodies, but most people are in their bodies, but they're not in their bodies consciously. They don't know what their felt sense is at any given moment. They've dissociated from it. And so I want to talk about felt sense for just a minute. So, felt sense to me is the state of consciousness we're experiencing in our body at a given moment in time that includes the bodily sensations, any affect or emotion that's stirring, and any image or like background thoughts that are there. So it's the felt sense encapsulates all of that in the moment integrated. And this is part of what we started talking about, is that there's something that happens with understanding that there's an integration of something that may be an abstract principle.
Right.
And so you take something in the challenge. This would be how, but one way that I might talk about my own experience of it is, you take something that's a big principle of this progression, and how you then add in roles, and how you actually pragmatically do that on the
Mhm.
ground, do that.
Mhm.
But and you build on that slowly in a way that allows people to do this one thing until they get it. It's integrated. It's in their fingers. I had this experience myself doing the challenge this go round where I actually immediately started off on the first day, not quite doing it according to your instructions, but I know I was doing inverted chords. And I thought, oh,
Oh,
isn't
great.
this interesting? The inversions just were there from previous practices. But I
Right.
was doing the sentence of the notes, don't
Right.
D,
Yeah.
get G, call
Right.
C, anywhere A. I was doing that. And, so there's something that had integrated. And I think of understanding as integration. And so I think that's why it makes a difference, whether it's in our ability to perform, play the harp, or it's our ability to communicate with our partner or to take action on our heart's desire, move toward a creative project, or get ourselves doing something differently, a different habit, that felt sense connects us to the energy in our body in a way that's integrated. We're not thinking about it, imposing it, trying to stir it up. It's just there.
As you're talking, I'm thinking of many things. I'm thinking about a harpist I'm working with in my mentorship program who's building a show, and a show is a big thing to put your hands around. And so we spent a lot of time creating schematics, creating a drawing of it, creating the arc, looking at it so that we can actually see not the specifics of what she's doing, but what is the overall arc of what she's saying or expressing, so that then she can break it down and be within it and start playing with it. So I was thinking of that, and then I was thinking about being a kid. I think about this all the time because I think especially about some of the things that were especially important to me as a child. Anything with hands, anything I could put together in different ways, but not Lincoln logs. It was funny, like, and I don't know why, but there was something sort of prescribed about Lincoln logs versus, pop beads. You could just pull them apart and put them back together. And I was thinking that, when I was given something to play with, and when you're given something to play with, this is just an earring, and you have your hands on it. And at least for me, when I can have my hands on it, I'm understanding it in a very different way.
Right.
And sometimes I can literally get my hands on it, like with the progression. I mean, the whole challenge is based on this one progression, which in one key. So you have that foundation. You and I are always talking about, grounding in something, having a container for something. But then the implications of that expand and expand and expand. The implications of that one shape or that one sequence or that one pattern are, it can live in single notes, or it can live in multiple notes. It can live in whole chords. It can live down here, which is exactly what I just did, but it was opened up. And then it can live in the fact that it creates a foundation for of a melody, which you can actually play any melody over it if your harp is set in a certain key, just because of the way the harp is. But if people are not ready to do that, you can also create a melody by using that same thing, by using it as a fence post. I'm hitting those same notes on the downbeat and then anything else. And what I think is happening is that there's enough. Okay, first of all, knowing it doesn't have to be perfect. That is like the first thing. Knowing it's something to play with, to play around with, and having the simplicity of, I just keep thinking about the simplicity of playing, but then also some kind of direction in how you might play with it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the simplicity is tied into the schema or the diagram or the storyline. I mean,
Yes,
that's
yes, right.
yeah, I recently had a session with someone, I'm a writing coach of sorts, and she said to me, you need a formula. And so I said to her, well, so what's the formula? So she pulls out Joseph Campbell's A Hero with a Thousand
Mhm,
Faces
mhm,
and tells me
mhm.
the, the kind of the steps of the hero's journey. And I thought, gosh, I have that book on my shelf. That's very Jungian. I mean, I know about this kind of journey. And it was interesting because I think it's similar to what you're talking about that you're giving people in the Harp challenge is you're giving them, this is the first step. This is the first step. Then here's the second step. Then here's the third step. And as you take each step and you begin to experience it, it gives you a felt sense of the movement that you then begin to
Mm,
have an understanding of how to move
that's
that
really interesting.
you
Huh.
don't have just because someone says, okay, play this, play this, play
Oh,
this.
right,
Um,
right.
yeah. I mean,
There's something when people are, and we're talking about this because I want to find out what is this thing and how can I apply
mhm,
it to more parts of my life. When someone gives me something sequential, I don't see the shape of its movement. I don't see its
right.
arc. I can't, I am following directions
Hmm.
instead of being able to dance with it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, so now in this particular challenge, I've been playing this way all my life, so I broke it down. Now, what if you're in a part of your life where there's nobody to break it down for you? And so you have to break it down for yourself.
Well, that's when you get a good Jungian analyst to work with. Are I, I mean, in truth, there are places in our life where we can't see it because we have a blind spot, because it's still something in our unconscious. So we need someone else who doesn't have that blind spot who can see it.
Okay, let me ask you something. Does this,
Yeah.
I am thinking about things within myself psychologically, but I'm thinking about technical things in my life and things that are very easy for other people. I cannot get a handle on them. Like I cannot get a
Right.
handle on how to clean my room, how to clean my office. I mean, you'd think
Right.
um, there's something missing. There's that string in the sugar water. There's that thing that for me to hold on to and play with. Otherwise, life just things can feel like a chore.
Well, and I would say what's missing is what we might say is the felt sense of what
Right.
it's like when everything is in place and in order. Because, part of what moves us forward is there is a felt sense
Hmm.
that we want. I mean, I'm thinking
Right.
about, yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
and that's true, I think, whether it's getting the office in order or it's getting to the gym in the morning or
Mm.
it's making a decision to change a habit pattern or a behavior or it's interrupting, an automatic destructive response towards ourself or,
Well, let me ask you something, and I know we don't have a lot of
yeah.
time, because this is a big question. So, as a Jungian psychoanalyst, so I'm talking about practical things, but you were talking about like, okay, we're in these.
Right.
How do you go about breaking that down so someone can be functional in their life in a more engaged, playful way?
Yeah. Well, that is kind of the work of Jungian analysis, and I think a lot of other therapies and spiritual practices. In my embodiment circle, which if you're interested in, you can go to at onlinesacredcircles.com and get some info. What I've done is I've broken down the initial spiral are 6 embodiment practices that I teach people how to do, and
Mm-hmm.
you practice that for a month. And the
Hmm.
second and third spirals then are working with transformative processes using the symbols of alchemy. And I talk about what that looks like and how to dance with it, how to play with it. And I give some worksheets. It's kind of like what you're doing in the challenge of breaking
Right.
things down. And it almost always comes back to how do we stay present and dance with and begin to relate to what's happening inside of us, our sensations, our
Mm-hmm.
muscular tension, our breathing, our own imaginative faculties, images, thoughts. So that's how I do it in the embodiment circle. Working one on one with someone is a little bit different because there's a lot that gets internalized vis-a-vis the relational process. You know, so that's a
Mm.
little bit harder to speak to. um, but I think there are, and I think my online sacred circles, the embodiment circle is one way that people can do that. I think there are lots of programs out there that are a step in that direction. I think 12 step programs and the 12 steps themselves
Mm.
are a step towards helping people build that capacity to have self reflection and
Mm.
self reflection that frees them up to more creatively live who they are.
I
So,
see.
yeah.
I see. So it gives us something. By the way, I'm going to try something right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Dun, dun,
Yay.
la. I
Thank
know.
you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm going to see if I can also. Oh, okay. This is okay. First, let's put on the sacred circles, and then I'll put on the online
Yeah.
the challenge. So what I'm thinking is that um, it's called 12 step because there's 12, and
Right.
it's something that you get to practice, and it's something that you get to practice over and over again, and it's something that can work immediately,
Hmm.
but then it works deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and you can apply it in different things, like the progression that I give.
Right.
There's nothing new. It's a famous progression. I call it even the power progression, and you can get it and have fun with it, and then it expands and expands and expands and
Hmm.
expands. And so people who've taken the challenge, like for the third time, they're doing additional things with it. Let's see, I'm going to pull it up
Yeah.
right here. So this is a QR code. You can also just go to hipharp.com. Hip is
Hmm.
cool, harp is in the most amazing instrument, and you can see a link to it there. So I'm hearing what you're saying, Kathleen, that when there's sort of a limited number of things to think about, and you can explore them, and like in the 12 steps, you don't have to do all 12 steps at once. You can focus on steps 1, 2, 3, and in the progression you can focus on the 2, 5 instead of just the whole thing. And it's something to play with. It's something to open up. It becomes the can opener, the spiritual can opener, in a sense.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in the embodiment circle, the spirals 2 and 3, there are 12 embodiment
Mm.
processes that are based on alchemy. So that number 12 is a powerful number. But I think what you're just saying is that we work with the next step for us and we keep circling back. I
Right.
mean, just like the 12 steps,
Mm.
you make amends, you take an inventory, you become willing to make
Right.
amends, you make
Right.
amends, then you continue taking a daily inventory.
Right.
So it's this recognition that the process of understanding, which is integral to embodying who you are, the
Mm-hmm.
process of understanding to be fluent and artistic on an instrument like the harp really builds, and it's the fundamentals over and over and over and over and over and over
Right.
again.
Right.
And people keep searching for the magic bullet. Well, the magic bullet is right in front of us.
What? It's us. It's
It's
us
the
doing it.
simple.
It's,
It's the
it's
simple.
okay. All right. Now wait a second. I got it, but I got to say that finding the simple is not so simple, and
I
that's
think, yeah.
that's this definitely the struggle that I have sometimes,
Yeah.
and that is one of the other reasons that I love teaching this. I feel like and this is kind of where we started today. The comments, every day I ask, what was your breakthrough, or what was your takeaway from here, and I go and I read those. I read as many as I possibly can, because that is literally where I get my breakthroughs,
Mhm.
is the way someone else describes something that I'm sharing with them allows me to see it in a new way, and allows me to integrate with it in a new way. And it's interesting that you were talking about the 12 steps, because I was thinking that, in 12 step, you go through the steps with a sponsor, but then you sponsor, and
Yes.
then and everything opens up again in a new way. And it's making me think, to encourage anybody who's in the challenge or taking the challenge, to go show this to somebody else.
Mhm.
Go take every part of this and teach it to somebody, maybe even somebody who doesn't play the harp, because you're going to get a deeper understanding and engagement. I'm getting chills as I say this, that I hadn't thought about adding this part to the challenge, but I'm going to.
Oh, that's a great idea. My sister plays piano, so I'll teach it to her.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
then once you've taught it to her, then you can switch roles. You can play the same thing, but you switch roles and you see what it's like to engage with somebody else with the same game. Aha,
Mhm.
aha. Now I'm seeing that this all, first it's us engaging with something, but then it opens us up to engaging with others through it.
Yes, and as we engage with others through it, we learn about ourselves. I mean, it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing journey to really embodying our fullness, which I think also means living into our fluency in whatever, whether we're a harpist or we're a speaker or we're a writer or whatever we're doing.
Well, you're making me realize, and I know we have to leave like what, 30 seconds from now. It's just making me think everything is magical. Everything, engaging with anything and then engaging with others through it, can become a magical experience.
Yes,
Magical meaning things are opening up that you weren't expecting
that's right.
to open up.
Yes.
And I'm just looking here. What do I what is this? Is this chat? Oh, yes, I've been chatting. Okay, I'm putting the chat here just to see if anyone wanted to say hello. Kathleen, thank you. I'm so happy to be back. I had a wonderful time at Salzburg. I'm
Hmm.
so happy to be back. So happy that we met this morning. I love this conversation and I cannot wait to jump back into more. And
Yes.
yes, and thank you everybody for joining us today. And I think I can put our I can put our Jung at Harp down here so that you can actually
Oh,
I told
terrific.
I see. Oh, I
In the
see.
corner, yeah.
It's this little tiny thing in the corner. Okay, great. Good. Well, please visit us at jungatharp.com. Take these ideas, play with them, and let us know what you discover. Thank you so much, Kathleen, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Okay, bye bye.
Okay, bye.